All right. Well, today I'm going to be talking to you about a discretionary family trust. We get a lot of questions about this. So I'm going to address some of the reasons why you would have a trust in place. And I'm going to share a very important story with you. So what are the four reasons why you might have a discretionary family trust in place? So number one is going to be creditor protection. So if you have any assets that are owned by the family trust, they're going to be protected from your creditors. So that can be a very important planning tool. The next one is going to be income splitting. So with the proper structure, if you have assets inside a trust that are structured properly, there's a potential to be able to income split that with the trust beneficiaries. So very effective. Obviously, there's many different rules that you have to follow there. The next one is going to be that if you have a trust structure and a proper corporate structure, and that trust owns the shares of your operating company, your holding company, for example, the trust can act as a very effective conduit for you to get money from one company to the next. And that allows you to avoid messy intercorporate loans. So an intercorporate loan is where you end up loaning money from your opco to your holdco, for example, and that can throw you offside for your capital gains exemption and can create a mess for down the road when you ultimately go to sell your business. So a trust is a very effective tool for that. And last but not least, multiplying your capital gains exemption. So the capital gains exemption is where you sell the shares of a qualified small business corporation. And if they qualify, the first $1,250,000 of share sales tax free, and that'll save you about $300,000 in tax. So you can multiply that with the family members with the proper structure. So you're not going to want to miss this story. I'm going to share a very important lesson here. So recently we got introduced to this family where they own a share of a business, and that share is worth about $10 million. And this individual was introduced to us because he wants to find a tax effective way on the share sale that they could pay as little tax as possible, of course, right? And that's what everybody's goal is. And so in talking with me, I learned a bit about his family. So he's married, he has two children, and he wants to be able to provide these two children with a fairly hefty sum of money that they could then use to buy a house. And this individual owns the shares of this company directly. So that means that on his sale, he will be able to use the exemption on his shares and he'll save about $300,000 in tax. Unfortunately, there is no trust structure in place and there is not the ability right now to multiply that amongst his family members. And nor will there be because he's planning on selling his business in 2026. And the problem with that is that if we go and set up a trust now, we don't have enough runway for two things. One is that you need at least 2 years worth of time for the trust to own the shares in this company to be able to use the exemption. But you also need enough time for the value of the common shares that are owned by the trust to grow in value so that you actually have something that you can use the exemption on, because the trust is going to sell the common shares and you need time for that value to accrue and grow. And that can take 5-10 years, who knows? It depends on the growth of the company. And so it's too late. So the message I delivered to this guy was that, listen, you're about to spend $900,000 more in tax than what you needed to. Now, if you can hold off the sale, then, and probably for at least a few years, well, then we could probably get this structured up properly where you're going to be able to use that exemption. The problem is holding off. That's not the reason why you should hold off a sale. If you're going to sell your business for certain reasons, maybe you just continue down that path. But he's not the only shareholder. He has other partners. And he said, I maybe can hold them off till 2027, but early 27. But the reality of it is that they want to sell in 26. So the ship has sailed. It's too late. So can you imagine if I delivered that news to you where you're about to spend $900,000 more than what you need to? That is a terrible conversation. Every one of us sends more money to the government than what we want. Let's stop doing that and start doing our planning. So I hope that you learned a little bit from this. I hope that this was informative. If you like it, feel free to follow us. We're going to be providing lots of great information and tips for business families and physicians so that you can learn how to structure your planning in a way that can maximize your life's work. So thanks. You take care.